Hey everyone, welcome back to Top Rope Nation, presented by TopRopePress.com. I'm Ryan Drosty, editor-in-chief of Top Rope Press, and I am joined here tonight by two co-hosts rather than my usual one. This week we're going to be talking about the Royal Rumble, NXT Takeover, kind of our thoughts on the show, where we think they're headed, where they should go, any last-minute rumors. And so with that being said, I am joined, first of all, for the third straight week, making the hat trick a success, Mr. Justin Joint. Justin, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
And I got to say, Justin and I went out for beers last weekend, and we worked out the final deals of his contract. And Justin is now joining the show permanently as the third man. He is the third man in our new world order. He will be along for the ride on Top Rope Nation every week. So, Justin, we're excited about that.
Hopefully, eventually Kyle stops trying to steal Emelina's gimmick and actually shows up.
I think when I edit this for the audio-only version of the podcast later, that I'm definitely putting that song in the background. You're probably hearing it right now, in fact. And our third co-host, or the third man on the show tonight, our second co-host, you guys all know him from Twitter at Cheeky Jobbers. You know him from his always hilarious features on TopRopePress.com. We're joined by none other than Mr. Jack Snodgrass. Jack, welcome to the show.
What's up? Honor and a pleasure to be here.
I think, Jack, this is technically your second time on the show, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was here, I think, on the very, very first one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're on the first show. We did the WWE draft reaction. And then, actually, I think I did an interview with you a couple weeks later. I almost forgot about that.
That is true. That is true. But this is my second live appearance in the flesh, you know?
That's true. So if you guys are watching us on YouTube right now, normally we stream the shows Thursday night live for Patreon-only subscribers to the show. If you wonder what Patreon is, it's a kind of like a crowd sourcing, fundraising, whatever you want to call it, website. Basically, our audio of the podcast goes out Friday mornings. But we do the webcast just for Patreon's supporters on Thursday nights. So if you like what you see tonight, you want to watch us every week, and why wouldn't you? You can look at our handsome faces. That's, put you to sleep every Thursday night with a smile on your face. Go to patreon.com/TopRopeNation. $1 a month will get you access to all of our live shows. So, guys, we're going to talk Royal Rumble. We're going to talk NXT TakeOver. But first of all, the big news right now, Thursday, revolves around Kenny Omega. So he has been kind of in the spotlight ever since Wrestle Kingdom 11 from his match with Kazuchika Okada. And the rumors were swirling. Was Okada going to be in the Royal Rumble as a secret entrant? What was going on? Was his contract up with New Japan? And he announced tonight on a Wrestling Observer Radio interview that he is not going to the Royal Rumble. He is not signing with WWE. So it sounds like he is staying in New Japan at least for a year. So I want to get your reactions. Are you guys satisfied with that? Are you disappointed he's not coming to WWE? Jack, let me start with you, because Justin and I kind of hit on this last week a little bit. Were you wanting to see Kenny Omega come to WWE right now? What did you think?
You know what? I'm such a neglectful wrestling fan. I'm just such a WWE mark and apologist. But I do come around to those guys in New Japan who kind of have the higher profiles. Like last year at this time, I was like, I was getting into Nakamura because he just signed. I was like, okay, I got to do some research. And he was utterly fantastic. So I've seen a couple Omega matches, and I'm incredibly late to the party, but that guy's awesome. He's so talented. I don't know. I think he's probably best not to come right now because that roster is jam-packed. And it's just like, where does he go? I think it would be unfortunate for him to make this big Rumble entry and then kind of get lost in the shuffle, which because it would be unfair to expect him to duplicate what AJ Styles has done, because that will prove to be the exception to the rule of newcomers. So good for him, man. Make your money in New Japan and come back next year.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too. Is I was worried he'd kind of get lost in the shuffle in WWE just because there's just so thick with talent right now. He's the hottest free agent, no doubt, on the market. I mean, his character's over the top. I'm sure his T-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees just sell like wildfire. But I would just get worried. Yeah, like you said, there's so much talent there. But Justin, I know you had another take on it because last week when we talked about it, you kind of wanted to see him go to WWE. So have you shifted at all? Are you disappointed? Are you at peace with this decision? What do you think?
The decision makes sense to me, but I am disappointed because 5 hours of Raw and SmackDown to fill, and I would have been okay with seeing him, even if it was in the mid card with matches against Sami Zayn or Dolph Ziggler. And now we don't get that, but he's way more valuable to New Japan than he is to WWE, and it makes sense. And just because he didn't sign now doesn't mean he won't sign in the future. Yeah, I guess I'll have to be patient.
Yeah, if I had to put money on it, I would think that in 1 year's time, I'd be shocked if he doesn't jump at that point. I think he's got unfinished business. From his interview today, he talked about there being an old friend in New Japan that they were hoping they could do some matches this year. And most people think he's talking about Kota Ibushi because they were former tag team partners in years past. And Kota turned down WWE last summer with the whole cruiserweight thing. So if we got Omega Ibushi matches to look forward to this year, I'm cool with it. That's going to be good stuff. Plus he got his rematch with Okada coming up. But yeah, in 1 year's time, especially if he doesn't get a run on top as the IWGP champion, I would be shocked if he doesn't jump ship at that point. So
for sure. And there was, who's to say that he wouldn't have wound up in NXT? I know that may be blasphemous, but Samoa Joe and Nakamura have been in NXT for a while now. Joe especially. So you can't blame him because it would be sad to watch him in NXT. So good for him. That's kind of all I had to say. And he's young enough. He's got plenty left in the tank.
Yeah, I wonder if that played into his decision at all, like what they offered him, because I said on the show last week, there's no way he would jump unless he was guaranteed main roster right away, just because his character is so hot right now. He'd have to be probably promised some big time money to jump ship at this point in his career with everything going the way it is. So I don't know. We'll see. He seems like he could be the guy WWE's been searching for, though. They haven't really got that transcendent baby face with like all kinds of charisma like Kenny Omega has.
Yeah.
So maybe they see in him like what they've been looking for, and they're going to keep going after him, I'm sure. So I'm sure we'll see him there at some point.
Every day Roman Reigns flounders, Kenny Omega becomes sexier and sexier.
That is so true. Okay. We're going to get to Roman Reigns here in a second, because there has been a lot of complaining online today about the prospective WrestleMania 30. Let's just do it right now. All right. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, they have, 7 matches or so now locked in for WrestleMania. As Dave likes to say, things can change, so you never know. But prior to this, we had 3 or 4 matches. We knew Goldberg and Lesnar. We know Triple H and Rollins, Shaq and Big Show, which Justin is, of course, looking forward to. And we knew Owens and Jericho. But you can now add to the list. And by the way, if you don't want to hear this, spoiler alert, fast forward a couple minutes. But supposedly Roman Reigns and The Undertaker is penciled in as a match for WrestleMania. So you guys, I got to get your thoughts on this. We don't know if it's going to be for the Universal title, but do you think Roman Reigns is the right guy to put in there with The Undertaker? Are you disappointed by that decision? Because we're going to see Cena and The Undertaker, and that was scrapped. And supposedly the shift to Reigns Taker came right from Vince McMahon, that he made that call. So let's start with Justin. What are you thinking on this one?
I think it has a lot of potential. I think it could be a good match. I would have preferred to see Undertaker Cena. My bigger problem with the matches that are supposedly going to be going on is that we have all these talented workers, and they're not matching any of them up to give us the best potential match. Not to say that any of these matches couldn't be great, but there's guys that be giving us 5-star matches easily, and it just doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Jack, what do you think?
I think it's okay, so long as it's not for the Universal title, because it's just like, come on, at least give us a chance to like this guy, because what we don't like about Roman Reigns is that he's been handed stuff, and for the year being 2017, everything's so transparent. So we get to see this. I don't want to say necessarily entitlement because Roman Reigns doesn't really act like that, but things are being put on a platter. So you're getting the marquee match of WrestleMania for the last, what it's been almost 10 years, is like the Undertaker match. And it's going to be for the title. It's like, dude, come on. There's so much more that WWE can do to keep doubling down on Roman Reigns. Like, I mean, they have totally handcuffed themselves to this guy. And I think he's had a great year, especially with his Styles' matches earlier in the year. Like, I think he's been great, but don't put him in such a position to fail. Like, for instance, having him win the title at WrestleMania 32 in front of 115 or maybe 300,000 people, according to WWE, and they're just showering him in booze. It's like, let this guy succeed organically. And it just seems incredibly heavy-handed. I think Reigns Taker could be great, but for the title, it's just neglecting chunks of the roster, I think.
Yeah, to your point about things being handed to him and the fans resenting that, to me, if they put him in there with The Undertaker, it guarantees he's going to be the most booed guy on this show, right from the start.
Absolutely, because because it's I hope it's Undertaker's last match. It's like you're gonna let Roman Reigns retire The Undertaker? Like, that could have been John Cena, who is like the savior of WWE right now, but you're gonna forego John Cena and let Reigns do it. I don't know, man.
Well, but at least it's going to possibly be a guy that will be around for the next 15 years instead of Cena, who's going to be part-time for probably the next 5. I mean, Reigns is going to be the man for a while, whether we like it or not. So just while he get the big win against the Taker.
Can you imagine if they send him in there as a baby face, like they still refuse to turn him, and then he beats The Undertaker? I mean, to me, you would think, with just thinking with your brain with some common sense here, if this is the match they're doing, this has to be the heel turn. You would think. Like, if they're putting him in there at The Undertaker and he's a heel, I would have no problem with him beating The Undertaker. That would give him tons of heat. And if he is gonna turn, it makes sense. But
right. I mean, is the plan? I mean, it's subject to change, obviously, but right now, it's just like, are they going to both stay these ambiguous, portrays of morality, where The Undertaker's like kind of good, kind of bad, which is what he's been, and then Reigns is kind of good, kind of bad, and it's like, I'm not buying that, because The Undertaker can barely move in the ring, and it's like, how babyface wouldn't just destroy a 60-year-old man, or however old he is. So.
Yeah. This is a good segue, actually, to I wanted to bring up the column you wrote this week, Jack, about SmackDown and Raw, and kind of what you're talking about of kind of being a babyface, kind of not. That's been, in your argument, that's been the problem on Raw. And this completely illustrates that, right?
Yeah, and I get that, the tweener thing, because they don't care as long as people are getting reactions and buying products. I get that. But I feel like the basic formula of wrestling is you need your good guys and you need your bad guys. Now, you can have your exceptions that, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, who, was transcendent a movement by himself. But to have everyone be so, I don't want to say lukewarm, but kind of in between, like this gray area, it doesn't give room for story. And it kind of, things suffocate before they even get going. And Reigns Taker would be just that. Just remember how awkward it was when Rollins fought Kevin Owens, when that feud first started getting going. Rollins was technically the babyface, and I guess Owens was the heel, but I remember watching it, and I was like, man, I don't really know who to care about or what to be rooting for or what's at stake here. And WWE has been a lot of that, or at least Raw has been.
Yeah, that's why SmackDown has thrived, because you have like you wrote in the article, you have your clear baby faces, you have your clear heels, and Raw has really, really struggled at establishing that. And some of it, I think, has to do with Finn Balor, because he was clearly slated to be the top babyface, and he was ripped away within the first few weeks with his injury. We could possibly see him at the Rumble. I know he was being tested this week to see if he could go or not. I'm not sure where he's slated at Mania. There is no match for Balor yet rumored. Do you guys have anyone in mind? I've been racking my brain thinking who would Finn Balor go against, and originally I thought Taker. It makes sense with the demon gimmick and everything. But if they're going Reigns Taker, I mean, who else from the Raw roster is Finn Balor wrestling in a high-profile match? I can't. I can't think of anything.
They'd probably just throw him into the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
Oh my God, I hope not.
I mean, but like really, for top-notch heels, all you get is handsome Rusev.
Yeah.
Oh, that's who it is. That's exactly who it would be. Oh,
I'm going to be replaying this clip in like 2 months on the show, how Justin called it.
that's exactly who it will be. Oh.
Unless they did like an interpromotional match, I don't see anyone else he could get in there with. It would be a big enough deal for a WrestleMania match for the face of Raw.
Not unless you booked him with the club, but then they're heels, so you'd have to turn them because there's no way he's going to get booed coming back.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the other, okay, we got that match was added to the prospective list. Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton is rumored. And this one supposedly has a chance to be the title match. So I think we'll have a better idea after Sunday in the Royal Rumble and where they're going here, because there's a chance Orton could win and then Wyatt could possibly win the title at Elimination Chamber. Or you could have Wyatt win. Orton win, Wyatt wins the title, or Wyatt wins the Rumble, Orton wins the title Elimination Chamber. I'm not sure. Would you guys rather have, if it is a title match, who would you want to see as a champion going into WrestleMania?
Definitely Orton.
Yeah, same here.
The catharsis of Bray Wyatt winning a title at WrestleMania, because everyone is secretly a Bray Wyatt fan, just kind of like 60% of the country is like a Donald Trump fan, but nobody knew about it. Like, because most people, everyone loves Bray, but we've all given up at some point, because when you first watch him, he's enchanting. You're going to have an opinion, but then when you watch him week after week, it's like filibuster after filibuster, a promo, and then there's not a whole lot of substance to his feud. So it's like, okay, like one day, Bray, I will be happy to cheer for you, but come on, the clock is ticking. But WrestleMania, it could be his moment. I think beating Orton at WrestleMania would be a wonderful moment for him.
Yeah, we've been waiting for 3 years for the big Bray Wyatt push, especially just get a win at WrestleMania and to have him win the title there, and maybe even as a babyface, because we got a taste of that in a tag team match a while ago, and I think the crowd's thirsting for that Bray Wyatt face run. Yeah,
he's a guy who 2-3 years ago probably they missed the boat on, and I think the current situation with Orton joining the Wyatt family has given him a fresh run at things, and so to put the title on him I think would be a good move. So yeah, we'll see where they go with that. The other two matches that are supposedly penciled in for Mania, so in the Raw title match, it's looking like it's going to be a fatal 4-way with Charlotte, Nia Jax, Bayley, and Sasha Banks. Emelina probably still will not have debuted or re-debuted by this point, so she's supposedly not involved. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of fatal 4-way matches. I was kind of hoping we'd see a singles match here with Sasha turning heel, taking on a newly champion Bayley, perhaps. But 4-way. Any thoughts on that one, Jack?
I think they've kind of pigeonholed themselves into keeping Charlotte champion for a long time, for better or for worse. I think they may take it off of her, but the women's division is so much more stabilized when she has the belt. So I think they're going to always refer back to her as champion just because she's so proven. And, you know, Sasha and Bayley, so as good as they've been, they kind of lack some identity. I think a 4-way match could be entertaining, and the triple threat last year was good, but I don't know, man. I don't know if adding more wheels to the wagon is the answer.
Yeah, I think this goes to what Justin said about how they've got so much talent, but like the card they're putting together isn't necessarily allowing them to have the best matches that they could have.
Right.
The 4- and 5-star matches. Justin, what do you think about a 4-way?
I don't mind it when it's an elimination 4-way, but in order to get a good one of those, you need time, and they're not going to have that at WrestleMania when there's going to be about 15 matches going on.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that match if it's actually happening. Depending on story, I'll give them time, but as of now.
And then lastly, if the Reigns Taker prospective match hasn't been getting the most heat today online, it's definitely this one. So this one is supposedly could change But supposedly they are considering AJ Styles taking on Shane McMahon. And to me, on the surface, when you have arguably the best wrestler in the world right now, AJ Styles, putting him in there with Shane McMahon is such a waste on the biggest show of the year. I've been pretty vocal here on the podcast about wanting to see Nakamura come up and wrestle AJ at WrestleMania, recreate the Wrestle Kingdom match they had a couple years ago. And yeah, I'm not sure about this one. I'm not sure I want to see Shane McMahon in the ring at WrestleMania with this kind of talent on the roster.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, why are we forcing Shane McMahon into WrestleMania? Is he only going to be around for like 1 or 2 more years, so they're squeezing all they can out of him? And yeah, it seems like kind of an odd pairing, and I'm sure it'll be fine. And we may even overlook the match to where it actually gives us a great match, and we would have already shit on it so much. They're like, oh, that was actually fantastic. We did not anticipate that. But I don't know. I feel like this AJ Styles heel run, as great as it's been, people are so ready to cheer for that guy, like universally, I think. So why are you pitting him against the biggest babyface on SmackDown? That's my question.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I went to a live show a while back when Styles was a face, and boy, there was just kids everywhere wearing his gloves. I mean, his merchandise must have been flying off the shelves, and then they turn him heel, and little kids aren't going to care about him as much. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer, and I'm ready to root for him as a good guy.
Yeah, I think in 2017 you got to see Styles with the top face run on SmackDown, because Cena's going to be in and out, and yeah, the time is they got to strike right now with AJ Styles. So that is the prospective WrestleMania card as of the end of January here. So we should know a lot more after the Royal Rumble this Sunday. So before we get to the Rumble now, I wanted to take a look at the NXT Takeover San Antonio card. We've got 5 matches announced for the 2-hour show. Usually in the past, these takeover shows have had a lot of hype behind them. This one I feel like has been pretty low key. I don't know what you guys think, but NXT they definitely put on quality shows. The takeover shows have all been good. Like Toronto was really, really good in the fall. But this match to me, or this show to me, has just really lacked a lot of hype. Maybe it's because I haven't been following the weekly show as close as I used to because of how much product we have to watch these days. But is there one match on the card that you guys are really looking forward to? Do you feel like me, like there hasn't been a lot of excitement going in? Jack, what do you think?
Well, I can say this. Like I said on the pre-show, I went to NXT Nashville a few weeks ago, and I by no means have ever followed NXT too closely. I think they forced my hand in the past few years because they were undeniably good. But I was shocked. So there was an intermission in the show. In the first half of the show, I didn't know anyone. Not a single person that I recognized. And that's okay because they're absolutely rebooting. And I think that's why they're not heavily promoting this, because they know that their product is just kind of like in a rebooting phase, like I said. Whereas before, I mean, they've almost had a monopoly of the best indie performers on the planet in this JV version of WWE. So that sold itself, but now they're kind of not necessarily in an identity crisis, but they're just not as strong as what they typically have been. So you can't blame them for kind of subduing the promotion. But I for one, will be looking forward to the Nakamura match. I love watching that guy fight. I don't care who he's fighting. Bobby Roode, that's great, but he could be fighting. I don't care. He's the best. So that's the one I'm excited for.
Yeah, Justin is our former NXT expert on Top Rope Press. He used to review NXT occasionally for us, and I'm going to defer to you now, Justin. What have you been keeping up with the NXT product? What are you thinking about this show?
Well, if I was still writing NXT reviews, they wouldn't be very good because I have not been watching very much of it lately. Kind of taking off Jack's point, it definitely feels like a transition period for NXT, but looking forward to the entrances for Roode and Nakamura. I think Roderick Strong and Cien Almas could be a show stealer, and I'm ready for them to push Ty Dillinger.
Yeah, Dillinger is a hot name as a possible surprise in the Rumble this year. He's wrestling Eric Young, so I mean that has potential to be a really good match. Like
what's Joe doing?
Joe is not on the show. He's not on NXT Takeover.
Well, I mean, is how easy is it to call that he's going to be at the Rumble then, right?
Exactly.
Surely he's working this weekend, right?
Yeah, yeah. So like the whole roster is supposedly going to be backstage for the Rumble, I guess, the NXT roster. We're talking about that on the pre-show. So
Rumor has it.
yeah, if there's one guy outside of Dillinger that you would think would be nearly a lock for the Rumble, it's got to be Samoa Joe. We heard a year ago he was right on the edge of coming up. So yeah.
Right. I saw something on the old internet machine that someone, I mean, who knows what the source is, but someone had penciled in Joe versus Cena at WrestleMania,
which could be pretty dope, actually.
That could be great. Yeah.
Yeah, did we talk about that on the show, Justin, or did we talk about that over beers this weekend? I can't remember.
That might have been beers.
Yeah, we were talking about how with the Cena AJ match, you could have Joe come out and cost Cena the match and transition that into Cena Joe at WrestleMania.
Absolutely, man. I was slow and late to the Joe party, but man, that guy has a presence about him. I'm fired up to watch him on the main roster whenever that happens.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a great heel on the main roster. I think he'll get a huge push when he comes up. A lot of the NXT guys, when they've come up, I'm thinking of Tyler Breeze here, come up with like no direction at all, right? Like the whole tagline is, "Oh, we're not going to bring him up until we've got something good for him." And it turns out they haven't had anything good for almost any of them, except for like Balor and.
If only Tyler Breeze could have foreseen that he was going to be this like stripper cop thing with Fandango.
Coming out as the Village People on SmackDown this week.
The fashion popo.
Yeah. But I do think Samoa Joe, I don't think they're going to blow this one. I think when he comes up, it's going to be a big time storyline, and I could see him wrestling Cena at Mania. So,
man, that would be huge. Imagine if Cena lost to Styles and then Joe. I mean, it's hard to foresee that happening, but I mean, basically doing the job to some indie kings. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that card we went through earlier, if Cena Joe got added to that might be the match I would look forward to the most, honestly, of the matches rumored for WrestleMania. I think Owens Jericho probably as well, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, he is not on the takeover card. So Rude Nakamura, Authors of Pain taking on DIY, which could be a decent match. Not going to be as good as the DIY Revival match, that's for sure. The NXT Women's Division is in a bit of a flux right now. So this is a Fatal 4-Way match. We just talked about a Fatal 4-Way women's match. Peyton Royce, Nikki Cross, Billie Kay, and Asuka. Is there any chance Asuka loses the title here?
I don't think so. No, I actually like that Nikki Cross, but all three of them lack major star power to Asuka.
Is Nikki Cross the one that looks like she should be dating Dean Ambrose?
Yeah, she's from Sanity.
Okay, yeah. Perfect love interest.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could see it could be. Asuka's had the belt for a long time. Peyton Royce is decent in the ring. She's improving a lot. I think she's better as a character than people give her credit for. So I was at this NXT show like 4 months ago or so, and Peyton Royce came out, one of the first matches, and this big fat guy in the front row said something to her. I have no idea what he said, but it was almost like it must have been sexist or something, or she got up on the apron and stared him down, and she was screaming at him, just stone faced, "Say it again. Say it again." And this guy got so embarrassed. I thought he was going to cry. And from that point on, I've been a bigger Peyton Royce fan than I ever was before. So
I definitely am. Yeah.
I don't know. I could see, if they wanted to pull off a surprise here, Peyton Royce maybe would have the best shot, but it doesn't seem likely. Asuka's on a different planet than the other three. So
right. She's one of the few people that's still established in NXT. So why move on from her right now?
Yeah. So, and then we mentioned the previous matches, Eric Young and Dillinger, and Strong and Almas. So it's not a bad card. It just lacks a lot of hype going in like some of the other shows. And I mean, if you tune in for some good wrestling, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. But storyline wise, it's maybe lacking a little bit. So that brings us to the Rumble. which I believe is going to be 93 hours long this year. Looking at the schedule, it's we got our 2-hour pre-show and then the 4-hour main show, so 6 hours. And speaking of which, and then we are also going to be doing a live Top Rope Nation on YouTube after the Rumble. So it's going to be a very long day for myself. And
have your Adderall ready.
I don't even know who's going to be joining me on this show yet. So I've been scared to even ask you guys if you want that much wrestling in your life on Sunday. But we'll put together a panel. We've been talking about having at least 3 or 4 people on the show to review the Rumble. And hopefully we've got some positive vibes, and we're pumped up from the show. Otherwise, we're going to be falling asleep on air afterwards. But let's see. Let's take this one match by match. So you got, even though we got a 4-hour show, apparently of the, let's see, 8 matches announced, including the Rumble, 2 of them are going to be on the kickoff show, the 2-hour kickoff show, including the Raw Tag Team title match with Gallows and Anderson taking on Cesaro and Sheamus. You guys see the title switching hands here, Justin? You think there's any chance?
I originally said on this show, at least unless it was over beers, that I think the club would finally be getting the tag titles. But upon further reflection this week, I don't think that's the case, especially once I saw it was a pre-show match. Why switch the titles on a pre-show when you could do it on the night after on Raw, or anytime after that? And plus, I noticed Cesaro and Sheamus are in the Rumble, so have them regain the title or win the titles. Then something happens between those 2 in the Rumble, and that causes club to eventually win the next night.
Yeah, with this already on the pre-show, and then the theme of the DQ already been established in this feud, I don't see this match having a clean finish. Just kind of like, throw away. If anything, the only argument you can make for the club winning is that they need the titles to establish themselves because Finn Balor's coming back, and maybe they can do something with that. But for the most part, I just see this as totally arbitrary and won't be watching it. But
I probably won't be either. To be honest with you, I don't know. 2 hours to have the pre-show on.
That's ridiculous.
You never know when the match is going to start. It seems like they just randomly throw them out there. And a lot of times I miss the pre-show matches. So we'll see. And the other pre-show match is Sasha and Nia Jax, which they've been building up with Sasha's leg injury. And this week on Raw, they showed a clip where Nia, had attacked her previously to reinforce the fact that she's out for revenge. And I don't know. To me, I'm still waiting for that Sasha Banks heel turn. It doesn't seem like it'll be coming here, obviously, but she's outside of the women's title picture as of right now. It looks like she's going to be working her way there for Mania. So this is just kind of killing time until these two get into a storyline with Charlotte and Nia Jax Charlotte and Bayley to build towards that WrestleMania match. Predictions here for the winner. Jack, go ahead.
I'll take Nia Jax just because she needs some type of defining victory, So basically, the 4 of them can stand in the ring together and be like, "I beat you. No, I beat you." And then it's like, well, let's all fight. And there we go. So, I don't know. Unfortunately for Sasha Banks, I think she's going to get not squashed, but Nia Jax is going to sit on her chest. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Nia Jax should squash her. Sasha's made. We all know she's one of the top dogs in the women's division, and Nia needs to be established. And not that winning a match on a pre-show of a 6-hour show will do that, but it might help a little bit.
Yeah, I think Nia has to win this match. They've got the out with Sasha, being injured and everything. She needs the win big time. I go with Nia Jax too. The other, let's see, they got 3 women's matches on this show. The other one, the SmackDown ladies are in a 6-woman tag team match. First of all, what have you guys thought about Mickie James since she's came up to the main roster here in her return? What did you think her promo on SmackDown this week?
Roundhouse kick east of the Mississippi. Oh my God, the thing is brutal. It's graceful, but
yeah. Did you notice this week on SmackDown, like the angle they showed that from? It was like low and outside the ring because I don't think it was anywhere close to connecting.
There's no way. But yeah, I think she's been great, and she's super hot. I don't care if people blow me up for being a misogynist. She looks fantastic, but I don't know. I think it's a nice kink to kind of throw into the SmackDown circle. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, she had a good promo talking about how her era of wrestling has kind of been disrespected by the new ones, saying that there was never good women's matches before now. So that's a neat little angle, but let's see where it goes. She can definitely go in the ring, that's for sure.
Yeah, they've kind of combined several of the storylines on SmackDown with this match because you got Naomi, Becky, and Nikki against Mickey, Alexa, and Natalya. So we know we've had the Nikki-Natalya storyline. You've got Alexa and Becky have had their thing going on. And then Alexa and Naomi started a storyline this week with the promo on SmackDown. So I guess it's a good way to get them all on the show. As far as picking a winner, I don't think it's very critical for either side to get a win here. I don't know what you guys think. I don't think it really matters at all.
No, absolutely not. It's just one of those things where the card's kind of jam-packed. The Rumble's going to take an hour and a half. It's just like, here you go, girls. You're on the show. Sorry, we'll do better next time type thing.
Yeah, give it to the heels. Let them get their heat.
Yeah. So let's move on here to the Cruiserweight title match before we get to the Raw Women's title. So Neville, who we've raved about on the show in recent weeks with his heel turn, taking on Rich Swann, who I personally believe outside of Neville, Rich Swann has the most upside of anyone in the Cruiserweight division. That's my opinion. I think he's got a ton of charisma. At the NXT show I went to, he got one of the loudest reactions from the crowd. The crowd went wild for him. Everyone was dancing around. I think he's a really good worker in the ring. So I'm looking forward to this match. I think this could be this has potential to be right up there with one of the best matches on the card for sure.
Yeah, I am stoked for this match. Give these guys at least 12 to 13 minutes and they have a chance of stealing the show.
Yeah, I'm fired up to watch this because just the Neville renaissance, man, because he's one of the first people from NXT that kind of got to the main roster and floundered. So he kind of has that comeback story already built in. And he's so much better as a heel, man. And part of that is because he doesn't exactly look like Brad Pitt. So like making him a babyface seemed unnatural. So like let him be this muscular kind of like rough looking guy that just beats the shit out of people. So I'm all for that. I hope that he's not limited to the Cruiserweight division and he could maybe, I don't know, penetrate the mid-card, upper mid-card. I'm excited for him.
Wait a second here. Are you telling me as a babyface, if they would have brought him up with the Mighty Mouse gimmick, that would not have been a good call?
That's basically what they did. It was Mighty Mouse with like shooting stars on a cape. Like, yeah, that is what they did.
I guess they wanted to go even further though, like with a mask and everything else was the original plan.
That's because he's ugly. And
yeah,
that's terrible for me to say, but they gave him that's why, dude.
I'm not going to say it, but that's for sure why Vince had that idea.
Put a mask on him, please. Yes, that's exactly what happened.
So who do you guys got winning this match?
Oh, Neville for sure.
Yeah, I got to go Neville too.
I don't think so. I think Swann. It establishes Swann as once again, kind of like the same thing with Nia Jax is Swann needs this win more than Neville does. Neville can win it in, a month from now, or especially since it's the Cruiserweights, have that change happen on 405 Live or save it till WrestleMania. I think winning this at Royal Rumble could be huge for Swann.
Yeah, it depends on what direction they want to take the Cruiserweight division in, because in the first few months they have kind of switched the title around a lot. And if they're going to continue that, I don't know. I think I can see where you're coming from though. With Swann definitely needs to win more. Neville's kind of a made guy for that division at least. He's got a lot more star power than the other guys. But I see Neville as his act's on fire right now. I can't think of another time in his career other than when he first came up that he's had this much steam behind him. So I could see the mindset of where they don't want him to lose for that reason. He could win in a cheap way to keep some heat on Swann.
Yeah, let him be the tyrant of the Cruiserweight division. I think just kind of let him be this monster because he's so much more muscular than most of those guys. So feed that, man.
Yeah. The women's title, Bayley and Charlotte, they've been making a ton of video packages building this one up in recent weeks. I'm I've been going back and forth on what's going to happen here because you would think, to me, Bayley's title win should probably be saved for Mania. Charlotte, she's the champion, obviously. I'm going to say Charlotte retains here. What do you guys think?
No doubt. No doubt. She's got the pay-per-view streak, which they keep working into the narrative like every now. Like it's 6 months ago, we didn't really know about it, but now every pay-per-view we get a subtle reminder, or not so subtle reminder, that she has that streak intact. And so why let that go right now? I think she's just really, really good. So why move on from that? And beating Bayley's the best thing you could do. Her losing is fantastic for her character.
Yeah, you guys summed it up perfectly. That's exactly it. Charlotte's going over here.
Yeah, Bayley's going to have the sympathy on her probably for the next a little over 2 months, I guess, and it'll build to a crescendo when she wins the championship.
They should think about not having Bayley lose a match for like 2 consecutive years. It's like the worst losing streak of all time.
Although I can't say it's a lock she's going to win the title at Mania. I mean, that seems to be the obvious thing, but look at last year's WrestleMania. It seemed obvious that Sasha was going to win the title. She had the big entrance with, her uncle Snoop Dogg wrapping her to the ring. It seemed like it was the Sasha Banks show that night. I mean, if you had to put money on last year's WrestleMania, there was no way Sasha wasn't winning the belt. And look what happened. So, yeah, I don't know. I would think Bayley would hold off and win it at Mania, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And then that brings us to the 2 title matches before we get to the Rumble. And after these 2 matches, we're going to know a heck of a lot more about WrestleMania this year. So let's just start off with the Raw Universal title match. So we've got Owens defending against Reigns. And, if they're hell-bent on continuing to push Roman Reigns, you would think he's probably winning the title here. It seems like the betting odds recently have been on his side. I haven't checked today, but it seemed like Owens was probably a good bet to lose the title and then feud with Jericho over the U.S. title. So Owens would be taking a little bit of a step back. Start with Justin this time. Where do you think they should go with this one?
Well, if I'm personally booking, I have Owens win, but I think it's going to be Reigns all the way. He's going to take the strap into WrestleMania against whoever his opponent is going to be, sadly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you can make a compelling argument for either side. You have to imagine Jericho's getting out of that shark cage one way or another. And even though we are on the road to WrestleMania, it is kind of early. So Roman Reigns doesn't have to win the title here per se. I don't know, man. For some reason, some part of me thinks Kevin Owens is walking out of there as champion. Maybe I'm just a romantic optimist, but I don't know.
Well, it seemed like Taker was the odds-on favorite to win the Rumble for a long time, and then that kind of cooled off when the report came out he wasn't going to be in a title match. But now it's recently come out that he's wrestling Reigns possibly at WrestleMania. So if he is wrestling Reigns, you would think Reigns coming in as champion and possibly Taker winning the Rumble now has a chance to happen. But yeah, I agree. They've got Fastlane coming up in Milwaukee before WrestleMania, so they could do the switch then,
right?
Especially if they think everyone is expecting the title switch at Royal Rumble, which they like to kind of try to swerve the fans.
Definitely, I think it may be kind of a messy finish. I don't know. There's some part of me that thinks that maybe WWE isn't as attached to Roman Reigns as we all perceive them to be, especially with them bringing back Lesnar and Undertaker and Goldberg. It's just like they are clearly in the main event and Roman is there, but I don't know. I don't know how much they've actually hitched their wagon to him.
Hey, did you guys have any problem at all with the ending of Raw? Because I saw some social media complaining about that, how it was like the 3 old guys that closed the show with Brock and Taker and Goldberg. Yeah, it seems like this time of the year, though, they bring back the old guys. They become kind of the focal point of the show. I didn't really have a problem with it. I thought for a 3-hour show, it was a good way to end the show with a lot of star power, even if Goldberg forgot his line 3 times or whatever it was. But what did you guys think to the end of because it seemed like it gave away that the Rumble is basically down to those 3 winning it.
I don't know about that. I think they were just getting the crowd hyped up with just throwing those big guys out there. Yeah, it was okay. It was probably my least favorite part of the entire show, just because it was just three dudes standing there.
I mean, dragging out old veterans for one more match or one more run is what wrestling does really, really well. It's the only like sports industry to where like you want to see the great ones like wrestle one more time. Like no one would want to see Jerry Rice play football one more time, or like Wayne Gretzky come out. Oh, we got one guy. Bro,
You know,
it's like
Jerry Rice, even at his age, might actually be able to help my Chicago Bears. So I'm gonna backtrack on you right there and say
I should have picked up on someone far more debilitated. He looks great. I saw him it was some commercial somewhere. So imagine one of your favorite athletes who you've seen walking around and he just shuffles. So, and that's basically what those wrestlers do off camera. And now it's just wrestling is one of the few industries where it's profitable to bring out old people, even though morally it's questionable. So they're never going to hesitate to bring out old cash cows like that. So it's just kind of how it works. And it's going to be awesome because we all love it. And if Taker has to be, escorted out of the ring or craned out of the ring, so be it. But
all right. And then the SmackDown title match. All right. Styles and Cena, who have had awesome matches in the past. Styles usually coming out on the upper hand. Is this the time they pulling the switch here? Cena carrying the title after Royal Rumble, Justin?
I could easily see them putting the strap on Cena to get him that 16th title run, and then him dropping it at Elimination Chamber to set up his 17th title run this time next year. Yeah, I mean, is Cena going to drop, would this be 3 or 4 straight matches to Styles? I don't think they're going to do that to their big horse.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to consider AJ Styles basically having a long winning streak, maybe the longest winning streak anyone has ever had over John Cena. So I think the possibility of Cena losing cleanly is not like you can throw that out the window. But we mentioned earlier, maybe Samoa Joe runs in, someone else runs in, The Undertaker. Who knows? I think Styles wins via DQ for that, based on those factors. I don't know, man. But Cena as champion makes too much sense, especially going into Royal Rumble. But Styles has been so present, and it's been him and The Miz that have been carrying SmackDown. And I think to switch off of that right now would be maybe a little questionable, but they can always justify putting the title on Cena. But for some reason, I feel like it's going to be Styles.
Yeah, that's what really bothers me is that Styles deserves this WrestleMania run, and then now they're probably going to take the belt off of him.
Yeah,
that is true because people were chapped about his WrestleMania match last year against Jericho. Not only that it was against Jericho, but that he lost cleanly. So there's a lot of hardcore AJ Styles fans that WWE would love to neglect and put him in like the pre-show.
The one thing I'll say about Styles retaining here is that it seems like on television recently they've cooled down a lot on mentioning the whole 16-time champion thing. Like a few weeks ago they were talking about it, and I know it seems like they haven't talked about it as much recently. So I don't know if that's a hint. Maybe he's not going to do it this time.
No, they definitely went back to the I built this place, you wrestled in gyms in Georgia type thing. Like that's definitely the storyline they're going with. So I think it's a good pickup by you, Ryan. And maybe this isn't going to be seen as historic run.
Yeah, I'm looking for that Joe run in. That's what I want to see. I want to see Joe cost him the match and build to something at Mania between those two. So,
did you guys catch Cena's promo on SmackDown?
Yeah, I saw the show.
I thought it was a really good promo. He is red and yellow and Hollywood Hogan. He's that character at one time. It's kind of fantastic.
Yeah, and there was a touch of like Mark Wahlberg too. He was definitely like dropping the latter part of all of his sentences and words. But dude, his promos are great, especially with Styles. This is a good juxtaposition. But I've seen on the mic, especially as of late, he's always impressed.
Yeah, he definitely took him back to the the early days, the Thugonomics era with that promo. It was
Absolutely.
I was, yeah, my wife actually noticed that too. She was watching it with me and she's like, why is he talking like that? I was like, actually, that's actually how he used to talk when he first came up, and he would rap before every match. And it's actually kind of cool. Those are were some of his best promos. So,
and then they put up on the screen where him on Good Morning America, where he's like, as I don't even know how to say it, is he's just playing it as straight as possible. And then there's this guy.
Yeah, what did you guys think of that? I thought that was kind of weird. They must have gone into the show obviously telling him, we want you to call his opponent the guy from Georgia, but is that a mistake? Because this is their chance to get their guy who's their champion, his name known in the mainstream a little bit. I was kind of mixed on that when they kept showing that.
They definitely shit on AJ Styles right there.
What purpose does that serve?
He's the bad guy. It's exposure. It's okay.
Yeah. I agree with that, but yeah, they totally acted like he was just some dude.
Yeah, I just kind of wondered about, they didn't get his name out there, and AJ Styles is certainly not a household name, and I don't know how many millions of people watched the Today Show, but that was a chance to promote him. But yeah,
what was cool is AJ. I don't know, maybe this was on Talking Smack, but AJ bringing up his placement in the Royal Rumble poster was pretty, because I know a lot of people were pissed about it, and it might have even brought up between us two, but yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was a good nod to social media, because the minute that Rumble poster came out, that was all over Twitter. People were noticing that he was in the back row, the back right corner or whatever.
Right. Well, that's them setting up him versus Shane right there, right? Basically, that's what's going on right there.
Oh,
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got, yeah, I could see that. Problems with the authority and the promotion and everything. Yeah, he could transition pretty well into that.
Maybe, yeah.
All right, well, we got one match left, you guys. The Rumble, of course, and we've got 22 participants confirmed. Probably, Justin and I talked about this last week. Of any recent Royal Rumble, this is certainly the most unpredictable, which has me more excited for the match than I've been probably in a long, long time. Maybe since I was a little kid, because most years you have a pretty good idea who's winning the Rumble, and I honestly have no idea this year. So do you guys, first of all, we need to talk about who the surprise entrants are going to be. So then we'll get to who we think is going to win. So you got 22 people confirmed for the match. We've got to have some surprise. We got to have some NXT people. We've got to have one or two legends. A lot of times at the Royal Rumble, they have a couple surprises that they don't even tell anyone backstage who's going to be there. They don't want the word to get out. They usually conceal it pretty well. You guys have any predictions for surprise entrants of those 8 remaining spots? Justin, let's start with you. NXT legends, what are you thinking?
I think Samoa Joe is a lock. I would say for legends, Hacksaw's a lock, being that this is the 30th anniversary and he won the first one. And for somebody who's not in the company now that they might sneak in there, maybe Billy Gunn. Maybe they could make amends from past discrepancies.
All right. What do you think, Jack?
I think Joe is a lock. If he doesn't appear in the actual Rumble, he will be interfering in some match. So I don't know if that counts. I don't think Shinsuke Nakamura will be there. I think he would be much more, I don't know what, well accepted if he gets a moment on Raw to where he just kind of hijacks a segment. And I think he deserves that, because they shouldn't just use the AJ Styles precedent. Hacksaw, you bet your ass he'll be there. Probably Tatanka. He looked great. He was in the Under the Giant Battle Royal last year. He's been waiting for this. He's gonna look like Shawn Michaels did at WrestleMania. I mean, maybe some other NXT guys, and I don't know if it's been ruled out. I don't know if it ever is ruled out with Angle, but I think Angle's gonna come out.
I think there's a good chance at Angle. I know he denied it in an interview with TMZ or something this week, but man, the roof will blow off the Alamo Dome, to be as cliche as possible, if he comes out.
Yeah, I'd get more excited about him than anybody.
Shawn Michaels, I think this may be an obvious one that no one said yet. I mean, he can come out. So he's not technically wrestling. He can come out, super kick someone. Braun Strowman throws him into the 5th row. Boom, there's your paycheck.
Yeah, I was shocked when they announced that Shawn Michaels is going to be on the pre-show, like in his hometown with 40 plus thousand people, and that's the best they could come up with here.
Dude, he's definitely going to be in the Rumble. 100%. It's a lock.
20 years ago, he won the title at the show, and now he's on the 2-hour pre-show.
Lead pipe lock.
The only other ones I would add, so we talked about this in the pre-show, so you guys are probably saving me to talk about this one. Ty Dillinger at number 10. I would say that has to happen, and if it doesn't happen, the crowd's going to be expecting him at number 10. So if it's not him, it's got to be a heel, because the place is going to boo like crazy if he doesn't come out there. So it's got to be the Miz. Miz has to come out at number 10.
I like
has
it.
to. If it's not Ty Dillinger, it's got to be the Miz. And then I think Jerry Lawler is going to be in the Rumble, right? That's with what's going on with him and Ziggler. Can we talk about that, Justin?
Yeah. Yep.
So you see, I think that one. And let's see, anything else? I can't really add any others. I was going to say Angle, but you guys stole my thunder there.
Oh, my bad.
So Angle, let's see. We said Billy Gunn, Hacksaw, Samoa Joe, Ty Dillinger. Yeah, Nakamura. I'm not quite sure on that. That's one I've been going back and forth with. I mean, that's a main roster debut they've been saving for so long that are they going to do as just a surprise entrant? Are they going to want to build him up with video packages before it finally happens? I feel like Nakamura has to be at WrestleMania this year. I don't know how they could put him at WrestleMania.
Right.
So,
I'll keep my fingers crossed that he loses on Saturday night, loses the title to Bobby Roode, doesn't debut at the Rumble, which we all will be anticipating if he drops the strap, and then debuts at Raw the next day.
The only problem is that if both Samoa Joe and Nakamura come up, I mean, that there's no top-level guys outside of Rude left in NXT, unless they all of a sudden bring in, like, Cole and O'Reilly, or I don't know who else they could get, but, I mean, that NXT roster is kind of depleted right now as it is.
That is true. Is this the first fight between Nakamura and Bobby Roode?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then they may squeeze that one for a little bit.
Yeah, I think a Nakamura the Monday after WrestleMania would be more likely than actually getting to see.
Man, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, at least give him a couple months if Joe comes up now to try to rebuild the top of the card as best they can. But yeah, I agree. It's probably only gonna be one or the other, Joe or Nakamura. So we'll see that where they go there. You guys have any closing comments about the Rumble you want to get out before we end things here? We've been going for about an hour, so that's usually our time frame, but we don't have limits on this show. If you want to go longer, if you got something else you want to talk about, what's on your mind?
I can make a prediction. I think Miz is going to be in the Rumble for a very long time, kind of like that savvy veteran heel that kind of like Ric Flair had in '92. I don't think he's going to win per se, but he may be in there for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good prediction, honestly. Yeah, I don't have too much else. I think it's pretty unpredictable this year as far as who's going to win it. Man, if I had to choose, now that I read Roman Reigns and The Undertaker's the plan, I think there's a chance Taker wins it. But God, we'll see. I think Brock and Goldberg, neither of them need to win the Rumble to get to that match at WrestleMania. So unless one of them's going to be champion, but I don't think they need the belt. No. Justin, you have a prediction for the winner here?
Well, here's the thing. If they actually have Reigns and Cena both win, that is going to piss off a very large portion of that crowd. So you cannot then have the Royal Rumble winner be like a Goldberg or anybody that's going to piss them off anymore. You need a fan favorite. Like, it's not going to happen, but you need like a Zayn or a Balor or a Wyatt. I mean, anybody who's won before is probably just going to piss the crowd off a little bit. But, that's just depending on Reigns and Cena winning. Otherwise, I'm going Undertaker.
Yeah, I don't know, and it feels so good not to know because the last 2 years, last 2 years is like just anyone but Roman Reigns. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, just someone else, please. So it feels really good not to be in that spot right now. But I'm having a really hard time distinguishing what I want to happen and what objectively should happen, I guess. I agree with you that Goldberg and Lesnar don't need a title. I really don't think Undertaker needs to be in the title picture for so many reasons. It just shouldn't happen. I think it puts cinder blocks in the entire roster and saying, we don't, you know what, not right now. It's all about the Undertaker, which he may deserve that. But
especially if this is his last run, then I'm all for it.
That is true. But if I have to pick one, I for some reason I was reading something today. I was like, dude, that makes sense. So I think it's gonna be Randy Orton, and I think it's gonna be Randy Orton because somewhere in like some parking lot, him and Vince McMahon shook hands, and he was like, "Look, Vince, I'm gonna let Brock Lesnar beat the ever-loving shit out of me in front of a live audience." But only if you give me one more run at the top, man. Just one more run, I'll do this for you. So for some reason, I think that deal brokered is going to have Randy Orton win this and then drop the title to Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. Now I'm just delusional. Now I'm just a mark.
No, I like that. I like that. I love a good conspiracy theory. That's good.
Yeah, I think Wyatt, Orton, and Undertaker. If I had to choose three, I would think that they're probably the best chances because, like we talked about earlier, that Orton Wyatt match for the title at Mania seems like it could happen.
If Orton is in the final three, I mean, I'm gonna have my shirt off and be beating my chest, jumping on the sofa, screaming for Randy Orton. I'm gonna be doing like the snake crazy thing he does before the RKO.
It'd be like every wrestling stereotype come to life. Snodgrass living room.
Yes.
I'm surprised that nobody mentioned Strowman.
God, I hope not.
It's too early, right? It's too early.
Yeah.
He's had such a nice run right now. It's like, why screw that up by pushing him too firmly?
Yeah, I think maybe they could feed him to Balor at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, I've liked the Strowman push as his role on what he's doing right now, but I don't think the crowd's going to accept him winning the Royal Rumble. I can't remember once again, Justin, last week's podcast on Thursday on our nights out having a few adult beverages on Saturday. I can't remember if this was on the show or in our personal conversation at the brewery we went to, but if I had to pick a wild card here, it's Kurt Angle winning the Rumble, challenging AJ Styles for the title at WrestleMania.
Oh, that would be such a dope match.
And I mean, honestly, Jack, if you'd have your shirt off doing the Randy Orton impression if the other situation happened, I'm not quite sure what you would be doing under this circumstance.
Under that circumstance, I would just be chugging milk, saying pledging my allegiance to the American flag. I don't know.
One of the greatest segments in WWE Raw history was that milk truck segment. I have. Yeah, I have showed that one to a few people that are not wrestling fans just because it's so hilarious.
Angle's talented, man. He's a lifer. He will be in wrestling till he is dead, 100%.
Yeah. So if for some reason they pivot and they do let AJ hold the belt after carrying the WWE in the ring for the last year, and he were to defend against Angle, my God, that would be awesome. Justin, I'm dragging you down to Florida with me here from Iowa if that happens. So yeah.
I'm only going if Mojo Rawley wins the Rumble.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's an unpredictable Rumble. So as wrestling fans, we really we can't complain. I'm excited. We'll see what happens.
Feels great.
Yeah, amen. This is going to be fantastic.
I also got to say, you guys, I really appreciate you both joining me today. January 26th. It's kind of a holy day here in world history because on this day, 31 years ago, Chicago Bears beat the New England Patriots 46-10 in Super Bowl 20. So thank you for spending this evening with me so we could celebrate together.
Happy to do it, man.
I actually just wanted an excuse to put in the backdrop of the audio podcast, the Super Bowl Shuffle. So that's definitely happening.
By all means, this is your show.
So you guys, as we end here, I'm going to just throw it to you. Anything you want to plug, any articles you got coming, any tweets you got coming, Jack, any podcasts down the line. What's going on, Jack?
The tweets, I have no idea what that will be like, but I should have a Rumble article out tomorrow. Not necessarily the 5 guys that should win or will win, but 5 guys that I'm rooting for. I tried earlier in the week. I pitched to Ryan. I was like, "Hey, I think I have an idea. I want to write an article. My Goldust should win the Royal Rumble, and him being the responsible editor in chief. He said, I think that will ruin the credibility of this website. So tomorrow at some point, I'll have an article out on the 5 people I will be rooting for. They're not all Goldust, but it's a serious list.
And Justin, any closing comments from you?
Excited to be joining the podcast to be for this triple threat, the Chris Candido to Kyle's Bam Bam and to Ryan's Shane Douglas. This is going to be fun.
All right. Yeah, we're happy to have you. So, yeah, I'll see if I can convince either of these two to join me for the Royal Rumble panel. But if you're watching, check us out on YouTube. Immediately following the Royal Rumble, we'll be live reviewing the show. And if you're listening to us here on Podbean, iTunes, any of the standard podcasting sources, go ahead and subscribe to the show. Leave us a rating. It helps us out a lot, helps the show grow. And, of course, check out our articles at topropepress.com. Subscribe on YouTube. And we will be chatting with you again on Sunday night. Thanks a lot.